Our top focus with the crucial food security and land acquisition bills still pending. Sources now telling to CNN and IBN that the government is mulling on a special session of Parliament to get those bills passed. Reports also say the government is looking at the option of introducing an ordinance instead, but the government had earlier denied any such move. The Food Ministry is opposed to bringing an ordinance, is what reports are saying. For more on this, our Deputy Chief of National Bureau, Pallavi Ghosh, in fact, joining us from the newsroom. Pallavi, what are the indications at this point of time? Do we see that special session of Parliament?
Well, so far, when the Parliament was in session, it did try to get that food security bill passed for at least 2 days. That, of course, was no longer possible. At that point of time, there were a certain section of government sources who were telling us that it's seriously looking at the possibility of bringing in an ordinance. But you normally do bring an ordinance when there is an urgency on an urgent matter. Like, for example, in the case of the gang rape issue, at that point of time, the government had also brought in an ordinance. And, of course, they waited for the Parliament to come into session. But remember, at that point of time too, the government was severely criticized that why couldn't it actually wait for the Parliament session to bring in, before bringing in that ordinance, what was the purpose served. So we are now being told by the government sources that the possibility of calling in a special session to get a food security bill passed is also not completely ruled out. It's interesting because the monsoon session, of course, begins in the end of July, so there's still some around roughly 2 months time. Second, the last session of Parliament was a complete washout, largely because of the issue of both the resignations of Pawan Kumar Bansal as well as that of Ashwini Kumar. Well, these ministers have resigned. So if the government does call a special session of Parliament, will the BJP still cooperate? That still seems very unlikely at this point of time because they are asking for a resignation of the Prime Minister. But I think it's going to be a question of political posturing by the government if it even mulls seriously the possibility of calling a special session to pass crucial bills, particularly the food security bill.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much, Pallavi, for joining us. We'll hopefully get a few government reactions on this and perhaps see whether eventually this is something that the government goes ahead with.